Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MC Commute, where we test motorcycles on the way to the Motorcyclist headquarters in Irvine, California. And today we will be testing none other than the 2022 Kawasaki KLX300SM that you see here behind me. Now, this is one of three KLX300 variants that Team Green offers, and arguably this is the most fun. I want to keep this short and sweet. We got something a little special planned for the end of the episode here, so let's hit the road. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 Kawasaki KLX300SM. Now, I already mentioned that this is one of three variants of KLX300 that Kawasaki offers. Now, number one, what are the other offerings? That would be the KLX300 R, which is their enduro off-road style motorcycle, the KLX300, which is a dual sport motorcycle. It's got a license plate, a little bit more off-road oriented performance, and what you have here is the KLX300SM. Now that stands for supermoto. So how does this vary in comparison to those? Well, other than the aggressive, bold-looking, badass styling, in my opinion, it has a 17-inch front and rear wheels fitted with IRC Road Winner tires. It's got specifically tuned long travel suspension that we'll talk about once we get on the road, and it's got a larger front brake setup with the 300mm disc up front. And of course, not to forget, just like the rest of the KLX300 line, it shares the 292cc liquid-cooled dual overhead cam engine that will power us down the road. So we're in neutral, just filled up the tank, 292 cc's of fury. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's get this bad boy going. And off to the Motorcyclist offices. This 300, as previously mentioned, shares the same 292cc single cylinder as its stablemates. Now, Kawasaki essentially updated that motor when it released the new KLX300. I believe that was in 2020. It was previously a 250cc or 249, and it achieved that by increasing the bore diameter by 6mm. Fun fact. So that's the nitty-gritty details of the engine thrown up on the Motorcyclist dyno. It produced a very modest 23.9 horsepower and about 15.5 foot-pounds of torque. I wouldn't call it the most impressive thing in the world, but it is a very mellow and approachable engine platform, something that I truly believe, that seasoned and experienced riders can really take advantage of and have a blast on. They always say it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow, and this absolutely holds true in the 300SM. But it's also something that is absolutely friendly for beginners. This motorcycle, the more I ride it, the more I want to recommend this to first-time riders or riders looking to move up from even a slower bike, smaller bike, maybe someone looking to come from the KLX 300 variants and get out on the road more. So, but a lot of that has to do with the friendliness of the power plant. It's been a blast, and the more we get to ride, the more I'll get to show you guys, and I'm pretty pumped. So, being that this is a supermoto, the KLX300 comes with very dirt bike inspired ergonomics. You got this one-piece handlebar, although quite narrow, but not too narrow. I still feel like I have a ton of leverage to steer the motorcycle, kind of weave, do what I need to do in slow speed maneuvers. The rest of the motorcycle, you got the one-piece seat, just like a dirt bike. very basic ergonomics package. And to add to that is a 33.9 inch seat height that we'll pull up to the stop sign and show you guys. 33.9 inches. I'm 5'7". I can't quite confidently, I take that back. I can't quite flat foot on both sides, but I can easily get both feet down for a confident stance. Like so. Boom. Boom. And we're off. Alrighty, so you pair those ergonomics, motocross style ergonomics, a relatively low 33.9 inch seat height, and 304 pounds fully fueled on the Motorcyclist scales, and what you have is a really lightweight feeling, nimble handling motorcycle that is just a ripper around town. It's perfect in the small confines of city riding or neighborhood riding, headed to the coffee shop, and really pairs well. Obviously, Kawasaki has given this supermoto-specific suspension, that being a 43 millimeter inverted fork up front with a 16-way adjustable compression damping. Now you also have a rear shock out back with rebound and preload adjustability. And to give Team Green credit here, they've done an excellent job of finding a good balance of support and compliance with the 300SM. If there's one small gripe, that sometimes on harsh roads, on imperfect roads, the suspension characteristics are a little bit stiff, and translate to just, you have a lot of feeling and connection with the asphalt, which is a great thing, but it's all kind of translated through the bars and gets a little rough in your hands. I don't want to say jarring, but kind of just pogos off the small bumps. But to justify that, the 300SM is made for some more aggressive riding, where you're going to load the chassis, load the suspension, get it deep into the stroke, and not necessarily just be cruising over harsh roads. Kind of be wailing. I think that's what as beginner friendly as this motorcycle is, it's also about just kind of wailing supermoto style. It's got SM for a reason. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. Man, small bikes are fun. If you watch the rest of my episodes, you know that I'm always a big fan of small bikes for many reasons. Obviously, approachable and yet entertaining at the same time. They won't get you into so much trouble, not only with yourself and maybe the asphalt, but the law. You can kind of wail on these motorcycles and not draw as much attention as you might on a big, I don't know, Kawasaki ZX6. Little 300s are a blast. So we got the 300SM. It's got different brakes than the KLX300, a little bit larger. If there was one gripe, I'm going to say this in a very, very easy way. If there's one gripe, if I'm thinking about true beginners riding this motorcycle, the only gripe I may have is that it does not have ABS. But that is what makes it so much fun at the exact same time. Being able to do some hooligan antics, really learn to use the rear brake, be able to master your downshifts, throw this thing sideways, and lock it up, do some skids for the kids, professional rider, close course. But that is what makes this motorcycle so fun. We can do a little skid here. How about that? Nice. Painting darkies all over the cities of Southern California. And we're off. I'm feeling like a racer right now. Especially because we got the infamous roundabout. Let's deck this thing. Put the IRC road winners to the test. Boop, boop. We're gonna feel the bump. See how the suspension fares on the bump. Man, this bike actually took it quite well. Now we're off. Seeing what the little 300 can do out on California's Highway 5. Headed to the Motorcyclist offices. Now, we're in top gear, 6th gear, headed about 77 miles an hour, which is, I honestly feel a little bit below average for normal highway speeds here in Southern California. And the 300SM is spinning about 7,500 RPM at 76 miles an hour, and we're getting cut off right now. Alrighty, tucked in. We got a little bit of vibrations. We're spinning about 8,000 RPM, doing 80 miles an hour. I will say the max I've ever seen on this little 300 is about 92 miles an hour. Now that's me getting small, getting tucked in, ducking behind a semi, and opening this thing up as much as she'll go. Not the fastest bike in the world, but it does handle highway speeds fairly okay. I would say that it has some power left in reserve. I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and I feel like if I had to jump by these cars, I had some power left in reserve to do so. Let's try it, actually. No problem. So that being said, I like that. I like that we have enough power to get in and out of situations safely, and not feel like a sitting duck out on the highway. It does have a little bit of vibrations happening through the foot pegs, a little bit through the grips, but overall pretty comfortable ride. The mirrors, I would say, paint a relatively clear picture. Not the most stable in the world, but I can see what's going on behind me, no problem. Now obviously the 300SM has this small LCD display up front with important and vital riding information. You got a digital tachometer, you got your clock, you got your trip. The only thing that I wish it did have is a gear indicator, just because I like having a gear indicator. The more familiar I become with motorcycles, the more I always know exactly what gear I'm in, but you know, as I get acquainted, it takes me a little bit of time to really understand the ratios and where I might be in the gearbox. Just a small little thing, personal liking. Man, what a blast this bike is. Super approachable, super friendly for beginners. Like I said, if there's one little gripe I might have just for those riders is the lack of ABS, but that's also what makes this motorcycle so fun for the seasoned veterans, to be able to utilize its lightweight, the nimble handling, and I don't know, just kind of throw some skids and have a good time despite the lack of power. But we're gonna open this up. It's by no means slow, as you can see, and for $6,199 as Kawasaki retails this here in the United States, I think this motorcycle can sometimes be a no-brainer for someone looking for a little around town commuter. I've had a blast aboard this thing. Let's throw a skid. Nice. I need to work on my skids on this little bike, but I would say that's pretty good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think the surprise here is on the little 300SM that could? Uh-oh. The van's out. It's ready to be loaded. Where are we going? Alright. Any guesses? We'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the surprise, the big fun for this KLX300SM. We are at Apex Racing Center in Riverside, California. as part of a motorcycle track day. We're gonna test out this little SM, see what she's got. It's kind of the cool part about this bike is it's has versatility. It can be your everyday commuter, kind of no frills, simplistic bike, and yet it's got the capability to come out here and have a little bit of fun. Put the supermoto in its name. Yeah. Oh, chatter. My right wrist gets tired. My right wrist gets tired from holding it wide open everywhere because there's not a ton of power on this thing. Yet it's still a blast to come out here and rip on, and this little 300 actually kind of holds its own. It may not be a competition spec Husqvarna FS 450 or KTM 450 SMR, but it does all right for itself out on the racetrack. It does all right for itself out on the racetrack. All right, how about one more lap here? All right, the IRC winter tires, once they get warm, they actually have a fair amount of grip. But they are no competition spec tire like the Bridgestone slicks or the Metzler slicks that these other supermoto bikes are on. The most neat part about having a kart track is you can come here and exploit your skills in a relatively safe and controlled environment at moderate speeds. One more lap. This is a blast. And to do it on something like the SM rather than a 450 supermoto, or we got a rider down here, a 450 supermoto, or even there's an Ovali 190 GP behind me, is you can do this for a relatively low cost and then be able to ride home if you really want. All right, here comes a little Ovali 190. There he goes. Wow. Wow. That's awesome. All right, guys, let's pull off into the pits here. Talk about this little supermoto. All right, guys, that is it for our time aboard the 2022 Kawasaki KLX300SM. And man, what a blast. Not only on the road as a versatile, fun commuter, the kind of no frills package, and no ride mode, no electronics, no ABS even, just a very simplistic motorcycle. Offers a lot of versatility, a lot of approachable performance, especially for those first-time buyers. I would have no problem recommending this to less experienced riders, but also it's just a blast to rip around town, rip some skids, have some fun in a safe manner, and it has the capability to come out here to the supermoto track and really kind of hold its own without much convincing. It does okay. Maybe swapping some tires to more competition spec grippier race tire would be beneficial for it, but overall this 300SM holds itself really, really well. I had a blast on this. I hope that you guys did as well. If you like this video, be sure to like it, comment. We want to hear from you, and subscribe to the Motorcyclist YouTube channel. Head over to motorcyclistonline.com to read the full story, and we'll see you guys next time.